Hey, I'm going to try and make a sophisticated slipcase for books. The idea for this came from a Kickstarter campaign I supported some time ago called Bibliotheca. They wanted a version of the Bible that looked and read like the classic literature that it is. So no verse numbers, no chapter markers, just words. Along with the book set, there was a pledge amount that offered a walnut slipcase to go along with it. I chose not to get it at the time, and then 2 years later, took up woodworking, eventually got the book set, and realized I did want a slipcase. Once the charred remains of my rosewood was planed down to thickness, I had to square them up and cut off the rough sawn edges, and then eventually get them cut to width. Then I taped the two panels together just to make sure the heights were going to be exact. With the sides now cut to size, I realized I'm going to need a top. Shorter panels like this have jumped around in the planer for me in the past and gouged different areas, so I tend to move it down in very small increments. There's a risky behavior happening here that I want to point out so that others don't make the same mistakes I do, and that is setting yourself up for the risk of kickback. Because when your workpiece is wider than it is long, you increase the chances of it potentially twisting as it passes by the spinning blades of death. And no good can come from that. So even though your intentions are to push your workpiece forward past the blade wants to push back against you and murder your face. That is less than ideal. The safe way of doing it would be using something like a table saw sled that braces it from the back and doesn't allow it to bind side to side. I succumbed to store-bought maple. Yeah, I'm embarrassed too. But I'm gonna need some thin strips of something to add a little division into the maple later on. And this forgotten walnut I think is gonna do the trick. Alright, let's check the fit on this. Maybe show off how awkward I can be handling things. Yeah, everything checks out. The clamp on the fence is a fun trick I learned probably in some Duresta video, just to help keep thin, long stock from bouncing around. Dividers. Something to be divided. All right, let's spread this out. This goes here. Side, move, adjust, here. Good. All right. And an excessively long glue montage. Just appreciate those squiggles. You never seen glue squiggles like that. Clamp. 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 We'll let this rest. It's been through a lot. So yes, the table saw still wants to murder my face, but risk of kickback is a lot lower with the blade tilted away from the fence. There's just not much that it can actually grab onto. These little cutoffs under the blade, though, are a different story. If it gets wedged under the tooth of the blade, it will throw it across the room. I had to add about a 1/4 inch of width to the base because my measurements were a little off. So here's a little more walnut. I like it. So maybe a little off. Fun fact though, this is one of the first times I had ever used a hand plane, which explains the awkward hand placement and some inconsistent shavings and overall awkwardness. But I do love a good hand tool now. Before I do an assembly on something that has visible inside panels, I like to do kind of a final sand on that first, just to make it easier on myself later on. Tape clamps for glue ups. It's one of my favorite tricks. Don't remember where I learned it. Probably on YouTube, but I love it. Cutting the face flush, as well as making an aesthetic decision I hope pays off later. Now here's where I really shine. Layout. Just measuring and layout. Some quick validation that I didn't mess everything up. There's always that one tedious step. Just rinse and repeat. Have you ever been so sure about an idea that you never even had a second thought of what could possibly go wrong? Science fact: aluminum is a great conductor of heat, and epoxy can reliquefy at high heat. I didn't want to risk another possible misfire on these longer ones. Finally, the last sanding. And you know I can't wait to get to what comes after this. Okay, back to work. Just a couple final touches, and here we are. I made a box. I think it's a pretty box. It has pretty lines on it, and some pretty dots, and it houses some very well-made, well-designed, pretty books. And sure, the slipcase will keep the dust off and protect them from damage. But I also just like that they're all there, in one spot, at the ready. And maybe at some point in the future, there'll be a time when this set of stories and lives can live a life with someone else. And there they'll be, in one spot, at the ready. I've been really happy with how this turned out, and thinking of other meaningful items in my life that might need a slipcase too. What's something you would want to put on display in your home in a similar way? Let me know in the comments. I like bouncing around new ideas. And take a look at my last video while you're at it. Thanks for watching.